Hi guys, it's Lynn here. Hope you're having an amazing day. Now today guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you how and when to start watering your cacti and succulents. Now at the moment it's very late winter, almost just on the turn of the beginning of spring. And normally I wait until sort of middle of March to start watering the cacti and succulents. But we have had a spell of very mild, quite sunny weather. And because of this, obviously I do go into the polytunnel every few days to check how everything is doing. And I can see that clearly there are some plants, succulents in particular, that are looking a little bit shriveled. And because of this, I'm going to give them a bit of water. Now, one of the most common questions I get asked, especially at this time of year, is, Lynn, when do I start watering my cacti and my succulents? Now, I always say that, obviously, if the plants are looking perfectly okay, there's no signs of shriveling, and especially if they're not even in flower bud or anything, I would leave it until the middle of March, until the days are getting longer, the temperatures are getting warmer. And even if you're growing your plants inside a heated house, I still recommend waiting to the middle of March, because that's when the days get longer. You're not going to get any stretched out attenuated growth or anything like that. So if the plants are looking pretty much firm and compact, as is an example here, this is an aloe that's very plump, it's bone dry but plump, no signs of shriveling there. I'm going to show you an example with a cactus. Here, this cactus, this clyster cactus here, Aureospina monstrosi, perfectly plump. This one here, Mammillaria, no signs of shriveling, also no signs of any flower buds at all. No need to water them. This is another example here as well, no sign of flower buds. Same with this Rhipsalis, no signs of flower buds there. Lophophoras, example, even this string of pearls, the pearls are all plump, nice and rounded. Soil is bone dry. And as I say, no signs of any shriveling, so there's absolutely no reason to water a plant at this time of year, which is late winter. Bear in mind, it's the 3rd week of February, guys, in case you're watching this video in the future. No need to water, so I would not water these at all now, probably till the middle of March, when they sort of do naturally start to wake up and come into growth. Now, this is a dodgy time of year, because it's, as I say, it is literally on the cusp, if that's the right word to use, the very almost turn of spring. Some people will see spring from February onwards, but I don't. It's still very much winter. Spring to me is on the 21st of March. That's when I notice everything sort of comes into growth. But as I say, there are some plants that do need to that are showing signs of coming into growth, especially the succulents. And this is when I would say to you, when I get asked this question about when is it the right time to water, I say you have to look at every one of your plants individually from late winter until very early spring. And you will know by how they look when it is time to water. So I always say that old saying, if in doubt, do not. So you're safer to not water than you are to water, especially at this time of year. And this is an example of how I know a plant that does need watering. I'm going to show you an example between a cactus and a succulent. Now, here we have our lovely succulent here. This is a kalanchoe, and it is clearly in bud, so it's in active growth. Now, it's not looking that shriveled. It's actually quite okay. This could probably go until March without watering it. It's bone dry. But because it is in bud, and when I touch the leaves, they are, as you can see, don't you can see by the camera, it looks almost leathery. It's a little bit dehydrated. And the leaves feel very sort of weak, a little bit flimsy. So that's a good sign that this is going to need a bit of water. And because it's in active growth, and also because we have got forecast some mild weather the next few days, it's going to be safe to water now. And bearing in mind, even if these needed water, if you've got your plants outdoors in a greenhouse or polytunnel or in your conservatory that's kept unheated or an unheated room, and they have forecast cold weather and particularly frost and things like that, then I would wait until that they forecast some mild weather before you start to water. As I say, if I did not water this at all, it's not going to die until March. But because we have got forecast mild spell, it's safe to water. There's some more coming into bud in there, but again, even though this is coming into flower, it's still very firm, so I won't water this Echeveria, no, not any need to. So I would just say to people when they ask me that question, if the plants are clearly coming into flower and they're looking a little bit limp, or the plant is looking limp in general, give it a bit of water if they've forecast mild temperatures. Don't go watering if they're looking shriveled, if you've got very cold temperatures and you don't heat the space. Now this is another one here, loads of flower buds on here. Again, this will be fine to water now. This is feeling a little bit limp, so this needs, you know, succulents go a little bit limp to touch and weak when they need a good water. When I water them, the leaves go nice and firm. So again, no harm would really happen if I didn't water this, but I am going to water it because it's going to firm it up. And here we've got our Blossfeldianas, Kalanchoe Blossfeldiana, all in bud, which is really wonderful to see. But again, the leaves are very sort of weak. And as I say, I sometimes just leave them, and if the weather was particularly cold or they'd forecast a particularly cold spell, I wouldn't water these probably. I'd leave it until probably March. But we're having it very mild at the moment, and because they're shrivelling up a bit and they're in bud, safe to go ahead and water. So it's really, you have to sort of use your head when it comes to knowing when is the right time. And as I say, if you're really not sure, don't do anything. And water then when the days get longer, and certainly when the weather starts to warm up. Now this can be a bit different if you're growing your plants in a house. If you have a spare room and it's heated, then you do sort of have to pretty much water slightly through the winter. So it's difficult to give an opinion when it comes to knowing exactly when the right time to water. You do have to go by your eyes and see. This is an example here. This here is another Crassula. It's been flowering. It was flowering all through the winter flower. I need to obviously cut the dead leaves off that, but it is a bit leathery. That could do with a good water, so that's going to be watered. Now that's giving you an example of some of the succulents. Now I'm going to show you some example of the cacti. Now we have here, this is gorgeous. This is our Schlumbergera Buckley, and it's the true Christmas cactus because it has the scalloped edging. Now it's happily flowering, and it's pretty normal for this cactus, this particular cactus, to go a little bit limp like this after, even during, by the way, but particularly after it's been flowering, because it uses up a lot of its energy for flowering. So I'm not going to worry that that's looking a little bit limp, but it would not hurt. This is an epiphytic rainforest cactus, so I'm going to give that a little bit of water too. And as I say, it's mild temperatures forecast, so I never let these go totally bone dry over the winter anyway. I always give them a bit of water about once a month in here. That's another example. Now I'm going to show you here as well. Let's see what is actually shriveling. Yep, here's another great example here. This is my Schlumberger tendenza orange basil. It's been in flower. Sadly, it got caught out when we got, not you guys who've been following me know, we got caught out with the polytunnel, with the heater not working. We had the frosty period, and sadly all the blooms, I mean, no harm has come to any of the plants, thank goodness, but obviously this was coming into bud and the blooms have gone limp, and it's not going to really, they're not going to open now, I don't think. And it's gone very reddish, but that's not a problem. It is very shriveled, so this is going to need a good water. So again, this I'm going to be taking out because the weather is particularly mild at the moment, which is why I'm going to be watering them. I'm going to be taking some of the hanging baskets outside onto the rack, so when I give them a good water, the water's going to go straight out and it's not going to go into the polytunnel that I'm keeping completely dry as much as possible at the moment. And that's pretty much it. As I say, not much that really does need to be water. This one here is a bulbine, which is related to the aloe. This could probably do with a little bit of water because it's a little bit limp. And other than that, that's really it, which not too much to do. I'm also, this one. This is another cactus, epiphytic. As you can see there, showing signs of dehydration because it's sort of wrinkled a little bit there in the stems. Again, wouldn't be a problem if I left this till March, but I do think it's going to benefit from a good watering now while the weather is so mild. Another quick scan. I just want to show you some more examples of when you really know. Pretty much it, I have to say. This one here is looking, as you can see, shriveled a bit at the base. That's completely normal. I will not be watering any of the cacti now until the middle of March. No harm at all is going to happen there. So better safe than sorry. No signs of any particular flower buds yet. Now here's another example here of a succulent. And this is almost like, it sort of grows almost like a bit of an aloe. It's actually, I'm trying to think of the name of it now. It's an unusual name, but it is related to the Mesembria Mesembria Amanthaceae. What a name. And this goes a little bit limp when it needs watering. Again, it's very dry, so I'm going to give this just a tiny bit of water. I don't want it to rot or anything like that, so that's just going to perk it up. And pretty much everything else is okay, and not really any signs of having to water anything yet. It's still, as I say, late winter. In a couple of weeks or so, everything's going to start picking up, and as soon as I start watering these in the March, you'll be amazed how everything fattens up again and starts to immediately wake up and come into bud, which is good to see. But look at this, guys, isn't this beautiful? And absolutely beautiful, I have to say. And that's it. So I'm going to take some of them outside now and show you how I'm going to be watering them, and put them down onto the table. Now I've got the two big Calanchoes out on the table. I'm going to give a good water. As I say, I've got them in bowls, so they're going to be thoroughly soaked up. And then I've got a couple of the hanging baskets out here. This is the Rhipsalis that's going to benefit from a good watering. As you can see there, it's very, very shriveled. Got a few different varieties in this hanging basket, and this is a clear sign you know you need to water. And as I say, look at that, this is very shriveled up. And as I say, it's a shame that the blooms I don't think are going to open because the cold spell knocked them back a bit. But the plant's alive, the most important thing. And this is going to be good. With a good watering, it's going to really fatten up after that. And what I'm going to do now is water the ones that in the polytunnel that I can water without having to take out. And as I say, really, I've made a video as well on how to know when to water your cacti and succulents before. So I'll link that video up above. Also goes into a bit more detail again. As I say, it's just have to sort of play how they look. Now this as well is going to be, this here is a beautiful Calanchoe. That's very, you can feel it's very limp. It feels almost like a limp lettuce. So if your succulents are feeling very limp, like a limp lettuce, that's a good sign that this time of year now it's safe to go ahead and give a little bit of water, as long as it's mild outside, or inside I should say, wherever you're watering your plants. And so it depends really on the temperature. As long as it's not too cold, then go ahead. And so this time of year now we really are so close to the spring. And that's the other Calanchoe there, could get away with a little bit of water. And then the other one that I was showing you was shriveling. Now this is another, there's this here as well is a Senecio that can give a little bit of water there, because that is looking a little bit limpy. As you can see here, it's hanging down, so that's going to perk up with a bit of water. Again, succulents sort of, a lot of them do still continue to grow over the winter, I find, in here. And this one also, just enough. It's not going to hurt if any water gets onto the tray anyway with the succulents. And again, this is shriveling, also showing signs there, so it's going to give that a little bit of water. And here as well, the little Portulacaria afra, that's a little bit shriveled there. So that's good, and that's all I think really does sort of need it. And then over here, as I say, this little one also is looking a bit limp, and that's really it. And I've got so many plans for the polytunnel. As you know, this is only more of a grow tent really. I say a polytunnel, but it is more like a glorified grow tent. Me and Hansi want to have a very big top of the range polytunnel or greenhouse. I think polytunnel is going to be more better, because we need one that's very high, because we've got tall plants. But a top quality one with a high roof and more of a solid structure, so the plants are going to be far better over the winter. As I say, this is a flimsy one of them ones that's a little bit wobbly, not the best, but it's done the job for us. And going to invest, I think, in a top of the range good high roof polytunnel in the coming weeks. Well, not the coming weeks, year or two, I think, to be honest with you. But that's going to be fun. Now this one here, the bulbine, also a little bit of water. And that's it, so you just have to judge on how they're going to look. And now I'm going to go outside now and do the ones in the yard. And here, So by hanging them outside, it means the water can drip down. So you just have to really make sure that you do this. If they are shriveled, showing signs of shriveling, you have to do it on a day when you know that they forecast mild weather, and I wouldn't recommend doing this in cold temperatures. So guys, I hope that's helped you to know when it's time to water your cacti succulents again after their winter rest. As I won't be doing any of the rest of them now, probably till the middle of March, or as soon as the warmer weather and the active growth starts to show on the plants. But this is just to let you know, if you're in between at this time of year and you've got plants that look a little bit shriveled, you think, would it hurt if I water them or not? Well, if the temperatures are mild, go ahead, and you should pretty much be okay. So guys, thanks so much for watching, and I want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness, and tons of plant power from across the Emerald Isle. And until the next video, bye.